Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Dead podcast, if you're watching with video, otherwise it's just audio. But we're back in the building with a man that goes by many names. Big Chocolate, the MC originator, the king of the circus, the OG Infernus cosplay wearer. You know him, you love him, SirActionSlacks on the podcast. How you doing, bro?
I'm doing so good. That is absolutely accurate. Every single one of those, you could find me on all the different 15 social medias out there right now. One each. It's like a scavenger hunt. Best of luck. Guy, I am so excited to be here, Jackie. I am a big fan of your channel. I know you don't believe me, but I absorb all Deadlock content. I love it. I think it's very fun to see a new game and the new community rise, and the stuff you make is high-quality stuff. So I am so honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate that, genuinely. It means a lot. I'm glad you've enjoyed the stuff. Obviously, you were around. We were all around in the Discord back in the olden days, the Wild West, kind of just posting weird ideas we all have about the game. So it's sick, bro. It's really cool. Obviously, I didn't realise, actually, the sheer quantity of Deadlock you've played there. I feel like there's a select few of us that have wasted an immense amount of time in New York already. But I was impressed. It's almost 2,000 hours. You've gone in deep.
That's right. I'm dark. I'm dark in it, man. As soon as I got my beta invite, I pretty much replaced all other games with Deadlock, and I haven't stopped since. I absolutely am in love with the game, super addicted to it, and having the time of my life, man. Yes, Times of the Cursed Apple have been very good. That was just named, by the way. They said that in the last blog post, you know, like, Yoshi, I'm a big lore guy. Cursed Apple. That's what it's called on New York. That's very good.
Yeah, little rebrand. They got it in. They got it in. If we keep saying it, we'll make it real. It happened.
That's right. I was trying to name the mid-boss for the first 6 months. I kept referring to the mid-boss by different names, trying to see if it would stick. Nothing stuff.
See if anyone would go for it. Dude, yeah. I mean, to be fair, it's a viable strategy. I think, right now, as long as you just say it enough times, people will go, oh, fair enough. That is his name. Like Big Dave the mid-boss.
That's it. Yeah, Whipples. Was go Whipples.
Mr.
It didn't
Whipples.
stick. I don't know why Mr. Whipples didn't stick, but
he used to run an ice cream shop, but it all got a little bit crazy. He turned out the way he was. There was a mix-up with the vanilla and the chocolate chip. It was a nightmare, mate. It was a nightmare. You should have seen it.
Well, indeed. Well, Deadlock must be on pretty hard times if you have me on the little podcast here. So I do apologize. I mean, we are in for the roughness now, I guess, huh? Shroud's gone. Got Slacks on the podcast. We're fucked.
You know what? Ironically, I was sat there when I was typing out the email. I misunderstood. I obviously just misread the name. I was like, Shroud's coming on the podcast. That'll be big. But you'll do. It's all right. You know what I mean?
Sorry. So sorry. I am actually not a Deadlock doomer. I'm very happy with where the game state is right now. I'm very, very pumped about where it is. Now, okay, I'm going to specify this with a word of caution, okay? I love shitty dead games. I'm not trying to say that's what's going to happen. But my favorite game of all time was Valve's Artifact. Not a good sign. No. Not a good sign. I mean, it was the same situation. I was in the beta really early. I really fell in love with it. I kept promoting it. I was like, this game is sick. I don't think I was wrong.
You sat there going, guys, please, look, just buy loads of Axe cards right now. Get the Axe cards.
In the beta test, there was no economy. The economy comes out. It was absolute dog shit.
Yeah, fair.
As someone, I was a contractor at Valve for 5 or 6 years. I was in the studio. I was in the room on Artifact with all the devs. I loved it. No one talked about the economy before it launched. The economy just dropped from a different department. It fucked the whole thing. Now, I love Deadlock. I actually am I'm going to get into it on the whole podcast about why I think it's one of the best games ever made. I am in love with it, which frightens me because I love it as much as Artifact. But I believe in it. I think it will be fine. But anyway, I started this saying I prefer these kind of smaller, intimate communities for this kind of stuff. So when it got super big and everybody was playing it, had a shitload of viewers, shitload of players and stuff, it was nice, but it felt like the game was released and it wasn't ready to be released yet. So it was really weird. So I like it now that it's like a small community of people that you recognize almost every game. You guys are learning each other's habits. That to me is like true gaming. And before Yoshi before he let us talk about it, when it was like a secret, that was by far my favorite time. No offense to you and what you guys do on Dead Air. But when people were not able to like make guides or do anything, it was like, it felt like the 90s to me again, like the early 2000s. Like, I'm discovering it myself, and it was so fun. You just can't get that in a game these days.
So this is the reason, right? Where, like, I remember, basically, I think it's like, early May or early June, whenever it was, and kind of get the invite, boot up the game for the first time. I'm on NA servers, like, my ping's out of this world. I pick Infernus. I don't know where I am. For context as well, by the way, like, I remember I was sat there waiting, because I'd heard rumblings, people being like, yeah, dude, this game's going on. You're going to love it. I get an invite the day I'm at an airport. I think I was going to like the RMRs for Counter-Strike. I'm downloading it on a Steam Deck on airport Wi-Fi for 2 hours. I'm just sat there like, I gotta know. I gotta know what this is. I get on the back of the plane. I had the back seat. I'm there with a little blanket. I was like, can't let people see, but be reasonable. Blanket over the Steam Deck in Sandbox going, okay, this guy's kind of cool. She looks awesome. Cool, like testing it out. It's the first time I got to play the game. I had to wait like 2 weeks of being at work, right? I had no way of playing it other than a Steam Deck. And I was like, dude, all I want to do is actually play this game properly. Finally get into it, finally playing it. And it was every day. Like, I was messaging you about it, where I was just saying, like, log in, EU servers would open when we finally got EU servers, whole way through. And obviously that's kind of how this came about, because basically, like, we just pieced together, like, weird bits of, like, oh, this must be where this came from. This is a gameplay mechanic. I remember, like, one day when I just said to my friend, I was like, dude, if you just double crouch control, you'll drop down way quicker and you can get that steal off. And obviously he was like, what do you mean? When have they added this? And I was like, no, it's just always been in the game. So the minute you could talk about it, I was just like, this exists, please.
Yeah.
Here's all the weird things I found, no-lifing the game. But I agree, it was, I don't know, something that I don't think we'll be able to recreate. Again, it was its own unique little time period in this era of gaming, and it was fucking awesome, honestly.
Yeah, it was magical. It is a very boomer thing, though. Yeah. Like, we remember that, back in the day, where it's like, you will go to Blockbuster Video, you rent your game, you're talking to your friend, you're like, how do you beat this? Like, that was a very different age. Aging myself here, sorry. Anyway, it really gave nostalgia and made me fall in love with it. I got a question for you, though, Jack. Did you actually like the game when you started playing for a while? Okay. Like, were you like, this is cool, and then you stopped for a bit, or were you deep in as soon as you hit it?
So basically, my first experiences were, I've had this weird thing my whole life. I think it's just the way my brain works with Valve games. The minute I boot them up, I do one of two things. One, I play it for maybe 10 hours. Then I sit there, I open a fresh Notepad TXT, I go through the whole console, I make a whole fresh config. Like, it was basically 2 days of me just finding anything I could do with the game, with what console commands were in. Made a whole config I was super happy with, like, all the filming options, all the gameplay tweaks I could discover they'd left in the game. And then all I did, morning till night, was play the game whenever the servers were open. And it got so bad, where I basically remember, like, I'd play a bit of EU with my fiance, and then she'd go to bed of a night, and I'd be like, oh yeah, I am also going to bed, and I'd lay down, and then I'd just sneak out, play the whole time till NA's closed, get back in bed, and she's like, what are you doing? It's like the afternoon. And I'm like, oh yeah, still a bit sleepy, like, but yeah, it hooked me, like, literally in the whole time.
Jackie, you're a freak.
I know, bro. I know.
Command stuff. No, I was the same way. Like, I was doing the console commands to sneak into EU. My marriage was in trouble. I kept it was like time to put the baby down, time to make dinner. I'm like, babe, I'm working. I can't. I got 4 hours. I gotta do this. Yeah. Anyway, it was rough. But I will say though, and this is gonna get into one of the things I really want to talk about later.
Okay.
When I started playing Deadlock, I saw it. Well, okay. This is also very ironic, because the first time I saw Dota, which is like my main game, where my home is, I saw that and I was like, wow, that's the first Valve game I am not going to play. That looks dog shit. Okay. And it was like, because it had the top-down perspective. I'd never seen that before. Looked complicated, looked stupid. Eventually I got in it and I was like, oh, this is the best game ever made. I get it now. Deadlock, I saw the leaked videos, back when it had Dynamo whopping around. Yeah. I got in. I played for probably 20, 25 hours, and I was like, okay, dog shit. I'm dead serious. I'm dead serious. I played, I was like, dumb. And then I stopped. And then a couple weeks later, I came back in. I sunk like 250 hours, and I was like, this is it. This is the best game ever made. Like, I didn't stop since. And so, I absolutely obsessed because it clicked what the purpose of it is, I think, which I will get into. But I believe that there is a distinct purpose and methodology to Deadlock that is super interesting. So later down the line, but yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, you know what the crazy thing is, right? Is I had both sides of this, where obviously, like, you work in Dota, I work in CS, like that was kind of like our backgrounds where most people sort of know us from. And it was hearing sort of how CS people would think about it versus how any of the Dota talent I talked to when we'd overlap at events. It was crazy how we'd have sort of conversations where you'd nudge each other and be like, so, you play in the game? And they're like, yeah. And
maybe.
Like, you'd slip away and have a little chat. But everyone kind of had the same sentiment where they were like, yeah, but it's all right. I played it for like maybe 24 hours, maybe 2 days. It's just not that great. And they'd be like, how many hours you played? And I'm like, 370. And they're like, really? It's only been like 2 months of testing. And I'm like, yeah, you know? And then I remember all the CS players, basically, they had kind of this rhetoric where they were just like, oh, it's just Smite. And I'm like, no, have you ever played Smite? I'm like, I don't think it is. And then they just go, yeah, it's Smite and TF2, mate. And I'm like, no, it's really not. And I was like, if anything, it's more like, source movement, kind of Apex style sliding, with Counter-Strike sort of like feel of guns being really snappy, with really rich lore, and it's got all the evolution of MOBA. And I'm there getting hyped up, being like, dude, they've like taken Dota and gone, we can reinvent the wheel and make it super sick. And then people would go, nah, mate, it's Smite with TF2. And I was just like, what do you mean? I felt like a lunatic. I felt like I was just preaching the gospel of this game that no one else saw.
Same. And I think that's one of its biggest struggles, is that it really takes time to realize what the skill ceiling is and how high it is. Because at your first look, it seems very simple. Yeah. You get a skill, you go in, you shoot people, you use your skills. But movement in general, once you discover like sliding gives you unlimited ammo, that's like when your brain starts, wait a second, what? Hold up. Hold up a sec. And that's what happened to me. And I think a lot of people is that it's deceptively, the skill ceiling on it is super deceptive. Whereas in most games, like a lot of Dota guys that I'm talking to, the same thing. They're like, dude, it has like 20 characters. Like Dota has 120. Like there's no variety. And I was like, you don't understand. Yeah. Kelvin can be a support. He can be a high damage gun carry. He can be a spirit. Like anyway, the game is just so unique in both characters and items that you could do anything with these guys. It's so good. Anyway.
Well, no, I do. I do. It's mental that I think we had the same kind of like, you sat there like, no, it's them that are wrong. That really is like, I even remember basically trying to explain to people where I was just like, no, you don't understand. Like, this is basically all of the good bits that can be salvaged from arena FPS in a timeline where no one cares about arena FPS anymore. But I'm there, but like, I still do. And Valve have saved it, I'm like, they got the bounce pads, they got the slides, I can wall jump. Like, you're trying to explain this, and they're just like, yeah, no, I mean, I guess. And always the way I was describing it to everyone is I was like, the thing about Deadlock is it is just a game about skill expression. The entire thing is skill expression. That's it. There's no like auto aim abilities. You know what I mean? You've got to hit your shots, you've got to hit your movement, you've got to understand what to buy, when to buy, how to counter. But it's all just skill. The better you are, the more flamboyant things you can do, the more fun you have. And I get some people get put off by that, but it's like, dude, there's no roof. Like the roof, it's a convertible, but Valve lost the roof.
Genuinely, fuck them if they don't. if that scares the fuck, it's just not made for them. That is what I keep telling all the Dota guys, because Dota guys have this huge ego. They're like, yeah, we play the hardest game in the world. Okay. That's why our pros make $42 million, because you have to be a no-lifer psychopath to be bad at this game. We have a saying in Dota, it takes 10,000 hours to be bad at Dota. Like, you're just dog. You're not good enough. So, Deadlock, I keep telling these guys, every single thing in this game is a skill check. You're like punching someone is an insane skill check. You heavy melee? Do you light melee? Do they counter? Do you fake out the melee by swapping your mouse violently across the screen at fellow Abrams players? Like, every single thing you do in this game is an incredible skill check, which makes it so fascinating as someone that is, like, obsessed with that kind of stuff. Because, I don't know. Okay, so I'm going to get into it. Let's get into the meat of what I think Deadlock is. Okay?
Give it to me.
Now,
Give it to me, Slacks.
for those of you that don't know about Dota, all right, this whole thing was created by Ice Frog, right? Him and his boys. Ice Frog, Yule, and a guy we don't talk about. The evil one. The demon. Pendragon. Okay? Now, I'm not going to get into the whole tale about how Pendragon decided that Dota shouldn't be free, and they should milk all of their player base by charging them for skins, and then he deleted the Dota forums as its manager, and then banned anyone from saying Dota in his game, League of Legends, which he stole all the Dota characters for and charged people for, because he's a piece of shit. I haven't forgotten Pendragon. You. But the good people from that friend group, Yule and Ice Frog, went and made Dota. So, yes, Ice Frog has been working on Dota for like 20, 25 years or some shit. Like something insane. From Dota All-Stars, and then word was that he was the main guy who started doing Deadlock, and this is his dream project. It is my firm belief that Deadlock is an answer for every single thing wrong in Dota. It is my firm dream in my headcanon, that everything that he thought was unfun, or made toxicity, or made something that was wrong in a MOBA, Deadlock is his answer to that, and it is his attempt to solve it. So let's go through a few examples, okay? One of the worst feelings in the world when you're in a MOBA is playing support. You first pick your support. You got everything planned out. You're like, all right, I'm going to pick Crystal Maiden. and then the enemy team picks up like a Bane, like a hero that's hard countered by another hero. And then your fucking carry, pardon my French, last picks. After losing half of his gold because he's smoking a blunt or something, he last picks Legion Commander into Bane. You're screwed. It's just over. You know the next 50 minutes of your game, if this guy knew how to play Legion Commander, he wouldn't have picked it. You're done. All right? It's 50 minutes of pain. But now you're stuck. You're stuck playing support. That's it. Your time is wasted. Deadlock is the polar opposite of that. You can't get mad at people for picking a hero that you don't like because it's one of three. They didn't choose to play Great Talent, just sort of happened. Yeah. And if you don't like the picks in your team, you think the carries suck because they were countered, you could just play Kelvin carry. Yeah. The items are the power. So I think he's taken a lot of the things that make traditional anger, traditional, like, I'm wasting my time, and then flipped it on its head where stuff like movement is a pure skill expression. There's nothing you can do in Dota if you are Crystal Maiden, which is a support, and you walk into a Lifestealer in the jungle, which is a hard carry, and then you guys meet each other. Your two options are die, but take a long time, or run for your life. This is not true in Deadlock. If you hit those headshots, if you outplay them, you can beat a carry. Oh, yeah. I could beat Hayes as a Kelvin, no problem, if I'm better than the Hayes. And I think that is incredible, but it's so hard to show that to a viewer that's playing it for the first 20 or 30 hours. Like, how are they supposed to know that? They just think they're screwed. It's so interesting.
It's mad as well how see, the thing is that there's so many overlaps with this as well, where basically when I was looking at it, right, that's kind of, I was explaining to people, I was like, no, it is like an evolution of MOBA. Like, he's figured it out. Right. They've solved MOBA as a genre and made it cool for everyone, because the weirdest thing is as well, like what you say there, where it's like people don't instantly snap in the same way, where they see it visually and understand how much depth it has in both ways, in terms of like the skill you can take with it and how each hero, as much as it's a limited size, can do, one of 7 things on unique choices throughout a game, right? I think the problem with that is it's so hard to get people to just do it and make mistakes for a bit before it clicks, which is why I agree, even back to an older point, where we were saying when the game was much smaller, much rice, like a couple thousand players playing against the same people each day, you get rinsed by someone in lane and just be like, right, well, this guy is absolutely cracked as Geist and he's just shooting me in the head. I'm going to play guys just shoot people in the head, and then something else will happen to you, and you'll just take on, like, this doesn't work, but that did. And you'd learn from the failure, and you'd have no one else to be like, Dad, please, can you beat Geist in lane for me? Like, you'd have to learn.
Right.
And I think the fact that that's gone away, it's hard to, like, get people to make that sort of synapse connection in the same way. But I'm hearing you. You're preaching to the choir, Slacks. This is good. This is a good theory.
I mean, it's the same thing as Calico, right? Everybody right now is like, Calico's broken. Calico is broken, don't get me wrong. Very, very strong. But it's not impossible. Slowing Hex exists, guys. I mean, it's not impossible to beat this character. It's just people haven't figured it out yet, because a lot of gamers these days, they get shit on, and then they're like, well, this game sucks.
Yep.
Leave it. It's hard to sell that in this day and age. But yeah, anyway, I think that there's a lot of different things in Deadlock that, as you said, are the natural progression of a MOBA by the guy who basically wrote the book on MOBAs. Now, what I'm interested to talk to you about, because that's my theory, is how do shooters, do you think it does anything for the shooter crowd? Like, do guys that like Counter-Strike and stuff, do they get anything out of this game? Because as a MOBA guy, I get so much. My brain is always about rotations, itemization. I'll be real, my old monitor, it did not have a good refresh rate. I could barely even see orbs. I would go into lane. I literally never won a lane for my first 150 hours. But my spell casting, my everything else, it was on point, so I still won games. Does shooter guys find a lot out of Deadlock, in your opinion? Does it scratch that itch for a shooter?
Oh, yeah. Because if you imagine kind of like, if we're two sides of a coin, like most coins have, you're coming at it from the MOBA side, right? Profound stuff. You're coming at it from the MOBA side, whereas in my mind, I was primarily CS. I played a lot of Dota 2 back in the day. I got I say a lot. It's about 1,000 hours over the years, right? Minute in the grand scheme of things. But pretty much all of that is ability draft, because that was the one game mode where I was like, right, with the boys, ability draft, this will be banter, queue it up, you know what I mean? It didn't really matter as much. I'd just be like, I'm going to do what I want to do. Whereas with Deadlock, those MOBA elements that have always eluded me, and you kind of get flamed for by your mates, you're like, dude, what are you doing, homie? You know what I mean? You're not buying right, you're not doing this, you're not countering, you're playing the wrong hero, you're in the wrong spot. Whereas with this, it was all the external stress of the weird micro elements of it. The ward's down. Where's the fog of war? What am I even doing here? Am I supposed to be killing this guy? Do I need to deny that guy? It was more just, it made sense, because it was basically, if I out-aim him, I get my souls and his souls. So I'm just going to out-aim this guy. And then it was you realize, I don't need to worry about actually fighting as much. I can just win the lane by just rinsing this guy's souls every minute of every day. And obviously people start getting frustrated, because I saw the difference of you'd know when you play against a player from League or Dota or something else versus another CS player or someone else from Overwatch or something like that. And then you'd sort of progress, where I'd be like, oh, dude, this guy's movement's super slick. And you'd see some of the Quake players that came in, and they instantly connect with the movement. And obviously you're like, oh, I'll do a bit of that. So I think there is enough elements that if you're good at certain key FPS games throughout the years, you've got those tendencies. You come into Deadlock, it feels so good in the engine that it's satisfying to do. And that was basically what I did, where at first I'd get flamed again, where it'd be bro, we need to rotate more, we need to do this. And obviously the homies that had more experience in MOBA instilled the knowledge I was lacking, whereas I was like, right, homie, you got to turn your sense down, you got to actually start shooting people in the face, we need to do this more. And obviously you realized where the benefits lied. And then, however many hours deep now, it all sort of comes together, where I think those things are so hard to learn in MOBA, because you just get rinsed for it. Like you say, for an hour, someone just hates your life. Whereas in this, it's maybe it's a 30-minute game, and I come out of it, I've done the most support damage, I've taken the most objectives, I've got the most denies in my lane. So even if I did mess up a few rotates and could have been in a better spot for a fight, you learn those things because you still feel like you're being rewarded. So yeah, I think there's definitely enough for both of the crowds. And that's why I think it bridges the gap really nicely. It's just convincing people to play it when you sat there sounding like a mentalist being like, no, you just have to, you got to put the pieces together. Just play, just keep play again, just queue again, please.
Yeah, it's tough. But it is, I think, going to end up being a game that does appeal to a very, very specific crowd. And that is a very good thing for people that love the game, but probably not a great thing for the game in general. A lot of games these days just try to be as broad as possible, attract as many people as possible, but also lack that shelf life. Like, yeah, it's a broad game. Anybody can play it. Anybody likes it, but it'll be hot for a few months. They'll make their money and then they'll peace out. Valve has a tendency to make games that just live forever. They never die. Team Fortress 2, freaks over there. I'm one of them. Still playing it today. Psychopaths. But yeah, it just never dies. And that's that quality control and that kind of like mastery of that craft. And I think it's what makes Deadlock so impressive. I know I'm going to be playing this game for a really, really long time. Maybe not if the matchmaker continues what it's doing, but no, I'm kidding. But it's rough. But I love it. I love it. I really do. But yeah, so I don't know. The evolution of it is also fantastic as well to me. When we were getting those weekly updates, I just felt like it was a new game every week. Like there's a new secret path here. That's crazy, and that's what makes Dota live for so long, is because of the way that IceFrog just likes to ruin the game. It's very fun. Seriously, I mean, he's like, okay, these heroes are good. Well, this hero doesn't do this anymore. He's completely different. Good luck. And you from Counter-Strike, I know they've updated that game, I believe, 3 times in its entire life.
Over the past 20 years,
yeah, so it's very different there. But the way that, I don't know how well that's going to do with the mass of gamers, though. And I think that's one of the biggest things that led to a lot of people getting hype about Deadlock in the the big Twitch streaming times. And then it's like, why is this game changing so much? It's hard to keep up, and it takes a certain kind of level of psychoticness to be like, I'm ready for that challenge. Let's go. 4 new heroes? Cool. Like, that's some crazy shit in this day and age of gaming.
No, I agree, and I think it's weirdly as well for me even, right? Like the bit that felt rejuvenating for that was like tail end of CS:GO. Like you say, there was really limited changes ever. And I think when I was younger, like back in Source, I remember being super arrogant where I was like, why would I play CS:GO? Source is the best. Like I'm not going to start playing the new game, you know? Obviously being way older now, when CS2 was on the horizon, playing the limited test there, everyone was so doomer about it because they were like, they're changing everything. It looks different. It feels different. These patches are weird. And I was just sat there like, this is cool. Valve are doing, like, they're just experimenting, you know, like, whatever, this is fun. And that like period of month after month of like nightly updates, I was waking up again like 2 a.m. I'd sprint out of the bedroom when we were both asleep because my phone's just tweeted basically alerting me like SteamDB, there's been an update. I'd run off, make a video about the CS patch. So getting that with Deadlock, it was almost a weird kind of bit where it looped me in where I was like, dude, these changes are fun. Like no one's documenting these. The minute they're there, the older build is just gone and it doesn't exist anywhere. So I was like, why is no one... Like, why does no one miss the thing we did have 5 minutes ago? So that's why I was like, right, I got to start covering these. Like, I got to start documenting everything that changes. Because obviously it was the first time it felt like, you know, you've been given consistent birthdays, but birthdays every day of the week. And you're like, oh, Mr. Valve, please. Another patch? Okay.
Christmas again?
Yeah.
Oh.
I guess I'll wake up and see what's changed. Like, thank you. So, it kind of, that for me was a huge interest peak as well. Like, I love this. The game's actually just getting changes no matter what they are.
Yeah, but it's tough because you do have to have that gamer personality of being able to get shit kicked and be like, I am losing. I don't know why I'm losing. I am bad, and I was good a week ago. This makes me set. Like, what kind of sick freak would like that? Like, that's like, I say Dota players and like MOBA players, they're Dark Soul players as well for a reason. 90% of them have that because they're just like, well, yeah, I suck. I've been trying to beat Melania for 4 days and I finally squeaked by. What a fun experience. Like, that's awful. So it attracts a very different breed. And you don't usually see that in shooters. Straight up. Like, shooters are very, you know, dopamine, man, shoot, gun, make big explosion, happy. Like, the Borderlands series in general is all just one dopamine shot of nothing can go wrong and you shoot big gun. It's very interesting to me to combine like that community that's not used to, you know, that negative feedback and now put them in a MOBA sense. I gotta drive your boys crazy over there.
The weird one is I think like CS is the only community that I can get like the, you know, it making sense where, because obviously it's like, dude, it's the same kind of thing where most players in CS, like once you've hit 10,000 hours, You probably graduated enough to maybe try and climb the ranks here, boys. Like, let's get you in some officials. Let's get you 16-0'd and teach you from there. Whereas, like, obviously, like you say, a lot of other shooters, it's not kind of like that, where you're not expecting to log in. Suddenly your gun's been nerfed, and also now it shoots a completely different type of bullet to deal with it. And you're sat there like, all right, I guess. But yeah, for CS, like it's sort of just linked with me, where it was the same kind of thing of just, you get used to being owned, and then when you get to a point where you're the one just beating people, you're like, all right, cool, I've made it now, you know. And I think it's a similar kind of mentality, where I imagine, like, even with Dota players, a lot of Counter-Strike players, you kind of build up this sort of, you know, inner verbiage where if you're good at Counter-Strike, you should be good at any FPS. Like, you've got the game sense, you've got the aim, there should be no FPS that is ever a problem for you ever again, you know.
Yeah. Agreed. I mean, I logged into Mobile Legends Bang Bang one time. I was undefeated for 45 games in a row. Those guys are idiots. Straight up morons. No, they were not ready. But yeah, and it's impressive having this game come out, and you can feel those skills transfer in a very natural and fun way, where you do feel like you have an edge on some other people, depending on what specific thing you want to get into. But we're building this game up. I think we're probably talking to people that already love this game and are invested in this game as well. So
there's a mix. There's a mix. You got the people that are rubbing their hands like, yeah, I knew it. I knew our boys love the game. And you got the other people that are probably just going, yeah, they're wrong. It's dog
shit. Watchers. It's fucking dog.
Can't wait for Valve to cancel it. But you know what hurts as well? I feel like both of us catch strays every time, because you liked Artifact. I loved Underlords. Underlords was peak for me.
No.
Every flight, even to this day, I whip my phone out, no internet.
Oh,
I play bot games of Underlords for like 12 hours. I fly home. I'm feeling good. For some reason,
not a good sign, Jacky.
It still hits it for me. I'm like, yep, this is fun, even though the game's gone forever. But it's always, man. In comments, all I see is they're just like, they left Underlords, they left Artifact, and they'll leave Deadlock. And I'm like, you're wrong. You're all wrong.
Well, first off, those were Dota IPs. So, Dota players are psychopaths. They've been playing this game for 20 years. They're not going to play any other games. This ain't Riot, League of Legends. Our player base doesn't eat glue. They still only... You can't just put a picture of Jinx and be like, oh, I like that. No, it doesn't work. We don't care about Axe. We don't care about Drow Ranger. We care about Dota. That's the sickness that we have. So you can't transfer that community, as they've proven with Artifacts and Underlords. They're just going to keep playing Dota. They can't do anything else. Oh, fun example. Twitch a few years ago came out with this visual representation of gamers and what games they played.
Okay.
And most games would have like chunks like CS, and then you'd see all these lines going off, and you'd see how everyone was interconnected. There's this almost cancerous tumor in the bottom right-hand corner. It is this massive growth. Nothing comes in or nothing comes out, and that was Dota. Just these freaks over here on Dota Island who never played anything else. So weird. But that's why I think Deadlock could actually be a success, is because it's not based on that already established IP, where it's its own thing, which I think could be really interesting. And it does have a lot of things that are not going for it, though. I will say that visually, real weird-ass looking game. Like, the first time I saw a trailer, the leaked Dynamo gameplay, I was like, F is this? Like, it does not... When you see it, you're not like, oh, sick. That's like one thing Marvel Rivals has that's so great. You watch it and you're like, whoa, Doctor Strange with his portal, that's fucking cool. That's fucking cool.
See, right. The thing is, though, I don't know if my brain is so corrupted at this point, because I'll sit there and I'll talk to my fiance about it, and she'll be like, I don't even know if you like video game companies anymore. I think you just like Valve. She's like, you just have this weird, you know what I mean? It's like, it's burnt in. It's like, no, they've done it right. I know they have. But like, when I got into Deadlock and playing that, especially at the beginning when they kind of some of the original graphics options they had with some of the stuff they did, had a little bit more realistic lighting to it. Some of the edges sort of looked a little bit more hard. I was like, dude, this looks really cool. Like, I really like this. As the visual styles evolved as well, I think it's really coming into its own. But I have seen that where a lot of people, they look at it and they're just like, just looks a bit weird. Like, I can't put my finger on it. It's kind of shell shaded, it just looks odd. But I'm the opposite, bro. Like, Marvel Rivals, I saw that and I was like, this is just generic Game 7. I'm okay. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it. I completely get it. And I was the same way as well. But the more I played it, we have to admit that we are Valve fanboys. I mean, I have been my whole life. So I have that as well, where I'm like, They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Let me give this a shot. And that's what got me continuing, what got me hooked. But I think that in this day and age, you need something snappy. You need something crazy. I'm just saying, when they premiere this game, it better have one hell of a trailer. Like, that better be, their launch trailer better be fucking sick. Because if you watch gameplay of someone dinking around on Dynamo and he does a black hole, people are like, okay. Like, what the hell is that? But, no, I mean, and I think they can. I will say this.
100%.
But, as someone who has a lot of experience with Valve, advertisement and marketing is not our strong suit over there. Okay, that's not and they need it. I think they really do need it.
100%.
Anyway, I think they've had a lot of good advertising with how big the game got and all those big streamers doing it, but they got to sync that for the majors.
It was even that where I remember that period of time, right? Like, obviously, it was just a couple of days after Gamescom where they like just said, "Yo, you can talk about the game now." I remember obviously the rhetoric was everyone was going, "Whoa, they're gonna announce Deadlock at Gamescom. Like, Valve are just gonna do something crazy. They're gonna, they're gonna
the trailer.
They're gonna talk about the game." And it's weird because I was always that person where even then I was like, no, dude, that's just not their DNA. Like, they really won't. I was like, maybe at most we get a blog post. And my wishful thinking is when it does come out, we get a front page Steam banner. That's kind of like, you know what I mean? I'm like, maybe that'd be it, homie. And then there's like that timeline where imagine if they did just go in and you drop the trailer, the social accounts come online, front page Steam, it's on a bus. Who knows, homie? Like, the sky's the limit. But there's a bit of me that just thinks that won't happen. You know, weirdly, I don't know if that's just how I've kind of gotten used to them working. But I'm like, I don't think that's in their DNA. It doesn't seem like they will hard push it. But if they did, I think it'd be absolutely massive. Instantly.
Yeah. I mean, I think they will have a trailer. I think they will put in a lot of cycles into a, like, the game has premiered. Here's our hype trailer for the game. But besides that, I don't think so. I mean, I'm going to go as far to say I don't think that they will officially sponsor an esport for Deadlock. I'll say that. I don't think there's going to be any internationals. I think it's very much going to be like a Counter-Strike thing where they're not going to come out and say there's a $1 million Deadlock tournament, guys. No. Get hype, get about. They'll never do that again. So it's going to be on us to do that, which the community is already doing a fantastic job of it. I love watching those already. It's interesting because it's like, they still run their company like they're in the 90s, which is fantastic for if you were born in the 90s. But for those, 14-year-old Roblox Giga Chads out there right now, they don't know what the hell a Deadlock is, and they probably never will if they continue that. I don't know if that's going to be okay. It'd be great for me. I'll still be playing this. I still play Artifact every day. But I don't know how it's going to go on the grand scheme of things. The big question, though, is does it matter at all? Does it even matter? If we're not like a top one game on Steam 5 years from now, does that make the game any worse? Not
really. I think that's the thing with Valve games in general, right? It's like you say, it's that they've always had that longevity. They always have that quality sort of polish that it feels like you don't really get anywhere else. Where as long as like there is enough of a reason that there is clearly some form of interest, whatever level it is, as long as they're having fun with it, it feels like it will be continued to be developed. I think that's why. Out of all of it, all said and done, right? Even that last 5 minutes of us talking here, where you could take that as, oh, maybe that's kind of like a bit of a negative lean to it. Maybe they won't hype it up that much. My only contrasting point is I feel like if you were a Valve developer today, with the options of the games that you could work on, with Deadlock being the one that seems like it has by far the most kind of passion behind it in terms of weird decision making, things that are just done for the sake of fun. They have no reason behind them apart from it looks like someone just came in that day and said, yo, you know what, let's just do this. This would actually be cool. Whereas I can imagine if you're working on CS, right? Like CS community is aggro. They have all been aggro for years. You update a gun even slightly, they will hate you forever, dead. And you'll know about it. Yeah, like you're getting those emails for weeks. I wouldn't want to work on Counter-Strike if I was a dev. Like, I love the game, love casting it, but realistically, if I was a developer, I'd be like, dude, swerve that project. Deadlock, though, that looks fun. And I think that's what would probably motivate me more to be like, let's just hard send this one. Like, let's actually just give it its flowers because we're super proud of it. And I think they should be, considering obviously the timeline, right, of like from where it started to almost being Neon Prime to them basically being like, you know what, we did finish the game, but let's do the classic and just do it all again for the sake of it. Like, I think it deserves it and could be, you've got those two sides, right? Glass half full, glass half empty. Maybe we just double down. If we say they're going to do it, maybe they will. Maybe that's all we've got to do,
Yeah, I mean, I think that Valve is an extremely interesting company where they're not motivated by literally anything but passion and revenge. That's it. Their only two motivations are like, I am passionate and love this, and you said what, motherfucker?
Yeah.
Ain't no way. Like, the HTC Vive thing. HTC Vive comes out, they go, huh? Nah, and then they make the Index. It's just pure revenge. The Switch comes out, no, and then they make but at any rate, I think that they have been working on this game for so long. Like all those leaks about Citadel, back in the day for the Valve News Network, Citadel, my friend, passionate gamer. And then it goes over to Neon Prime and now this. I mean, clearly there's a lot of love and passion for that. That will continue. I mean, that's a good sign.
Yeah.
And when it comes to gameplay, 10 out of 10. When it comes to visual presentation, after you get used to it, and again, they're fixing that, like, their additions of making Central Park and that hotel. Mwah! I love it. I love the universe. I think it was such a good idea to get away from Neon Prime because that game looked generic as S. I think they made a fantastic plan. But I guess I really am just worried about, can they maintain this game in the new universe that is, like, current games market, right? Like Half-Life Alyx is a fantastic example. One of the best games I ever played.
Oh, hands down.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible game. There's like 8 people that played that game. No offense. Like 90% of people that absorbed that game had to watch a YouTube video on it because it was just not a game that you would find in 2025. It's like a game that was made 15 years ago that happened to come out in 2025. Quality wise and all that, and it's amazing, but will it be able to hold the candle? I'm not sure, and I also don't give a shit because the game's still good. I don't fucking care. We're not the top on Steam charts, but it's just interesting.
No, exactly. I mean, the thing is, right, obviously they found a way multiple times, right? Like, there's a reason why all of these games are so ridiculously popular. Like, 25 years later, 15 years later, they're still all up there, and they're not losing traction. Even, like, with CS2, with the radical sort of swap, right, of, like, we're going to make an engine change. Then it turned into we're basically going to make a whole new game, but we'll say it's an update. Yeah. If something was going to rock the boat too much, it would have been that. But even that, like, it's still fine. Everything's okay. So I think they know what they're doing. It's cool to just sort of be there and let it happen. And I'm of the same mind where, like, whenever anyone talks to me about it, I'm always the guy that's like, no, dude, it's fine. My biggest sort of reasoning as well is I'm like, dude, the modern gamer, if I'm honest, if I have to come to you and say, Slacks, I have seen on Steam that you have been playing Deadlock, please, can you invite me to the game? Most people, that's already too much. You know what I mean? They're not going to do that. If they can't just click play, it's over. Like, it's literally over. So I think once that's removed as well, and then you factor in the law's super cool. Like, I think they've actually nailed it. You, like, hone that stuff in, you get that stuff out. And then here's my weird theory about it as well, right? Doesn't even just have to be a MOBA. Deadlock, right, tune in here, Slacks. I've been thinking about this a lot, okay?
It's going to be nuts.
Deadlock is going to be, hands down, the best multi-game experience. You are going to launch Deadlock, and you're going to be able to access the workshop and play all these weird, wacky things that people have made when it comes out, right? Long term. I'm talking custom maps. I'm talking whole different game modes. It's like Dota Arcade. It's like the workshop. You get all that rolled into one. It's going to be sick. But it's also going to be your favorite, what are they called? Like the point and click, I was going to say Love Simulator, but it's not that. Dating sims. There we go.
Sure.
All right, here's what I'm thinking. They're going to literally do it where, obviously you've seen like the leaked concept art and the storyboards of basically you go through Janine Geist's story. And at the end of it, you unlock an alternate skin. Homie, I'm thinking if they do the progression that way where you're like, you know what? Not only am I also making impactful choices in a point and click kind of adventure game where I'm progressing and kind of got like a dating sim built into my Deadlock as well. It's the prime audience for it. They'd all love it. And it would boom. You've got so many different avenues that I think when fleshed out and fully released in box, proverbial box, on Steam, it's going to bomb. I think it's going to do absolute numbers because you've got all those different elements they can take with it. And I think right now people aren't looking at it like that. You're looking at it as they got the one map, they got the heroes, that's it. I feel like obviously that's just a small fragment. This is the bit that's being refined, but there's this bit that we're not seeing that's currently behind some bars and it's like hidden out of view. You know,
Sure.
they don't want us to know about it yet, but I know it's there. I know it's coming.
I mean, this is what Valve are experts in. I mean, legitimately, the reason why people still play Team Fortress 2 is because of the characters. It's because of the world and the lore building. You can look at, the story of Left 4 Dead. When it was Turtle Rock Studios, they had their generic characters. They did basically a rewash of that game and said, hey, let's put in good characters, good story, good universe, and now it's a classic. Did the same thing with Portal. Small indie-based development team. They bought that team. They brought it into Valve. They recoded the entire game. Instant classic that is remembered forever. And not to be a D-bag, but you look at, what was that game? Paragon or something? Or no, that's an old game. The newer one. The one that just died.
Yeah, I know the one you mean. Concord? Was it Concord?
Concord, right. You got all the money in the world, you got everything in the world, but you just don't have the understanding of what makes good character, universe, and then that's the stuff that really gets people not only just play your game, but like think about, like live that game for years. And that is what Valve is an expert in. I think that a lot of their successes have come from taking something that someone else created and then retooling that and making it theirs. And I wouldn't say Deadlock is different. I genuinely think Deadlock is an idea that Ice Frog has had for like a decade, and they have finally made it real. There was just no working model of that, and they have made it their own. So, I have very high hopes for that as well. You look at Dota right now, we just had an update called Crownfall, and they just keep remaking mini games. Like they made Vampire Survivors and Angry Birds and all this shit, and they put it into Dota, put a new sheen on it. I play that more than the original games right now. So they're experts in this. I don't disagree with you. I think the characters and the setting is so unique and so cool that for sure. I mean, I know we all read the leaked Geist novel. No offense. Sorry. I'm a big lore guy. I really want to make lore videos about this. I don't know what to do right now, because the most lore is from something that is literally leaked, and I feel like a D-bag making content from, like, stolen shit. So, I don't know. But anyway, I think they're going to nail that. I completely agree with you. But the problem is, how do we get people to play the game in the first place? Like, if you premiered Dota 2 last week, that game would be the lowest played game in the world. I mean, it just would suck. You just can't convince someone to play Dota. People are grandfathered into these kind of games. These kind of painful games like Dark Souls. Never heard of Dark Souls in my life until finally a buddy was like, bro, you got to play this. It's going to kick your ass. You're going to love it. And it's like, these are things of word of mouth, which is why their invite system, I think, was so successful. Because it really was like, no advertising. Hey, bro, come play this game. This game kicks ass. And they did that on a virtual setting, which is really, really cool. I wonder what they're going to do for the main release to have that same kind of effect. But anyway, I'm no doomer. I think that a lot of people, they played it. They're like, it's changing a lot. I'm going to come back when the full release is happening. There's a lot of people that have never heard of Deadlock, aren't Valve guys, and they're going to find out about it, and we'll see what happens. But I'm pumped for its future, legitimately. Not pumped about the matchmaker, though. Can we talk about that? What is going on right now, brother? Okay. Brother of mine, what is going on?
Do you know what's weird? I have noticed the direct correlation between, I know there's going to be a lot of contrast to this as well, right? But my responses that I've had from people that grind a lot of Deadlock in NA and then have come to EU for like a CS event or something, and they played in EU, they have way more fun with the matchmaking. And they feel like the game is played entirely differently. And I've noticed that line has started to blur a little bit more now. But I, for some reason, I have noticed like the NA matchmaking experience of my time of pretending to be North American and going in and saying, hi there, I'm Billy Bob. And I'll role play for a bit. You know, I'll be like, he's pushing up on York. You better get there. Because they'll hate me otherwise. Perfect. They'll know. That's what I mean. They'll sniff me out instantly, you know. I drop a yawl when I connect and then I'm good.
Perfect.
Exactly.
That's it.
Right? But I've noticed there is an overlap of people like absolutely detest the NA matchmaking. Then they'll play a bit of EU, and on good ping, they're like, oh, this is actually fine. Like, it's pretty reasonable. I'm getting like normal matchups. Obviously, some days are better than others. I'll give you that. There has been some real rough games. Also, the worst bit for me, anytime I try and bring new people in, it's bad. Like, it's real bad.
Yeah.
Because obviously you just lose again and again.
Yeah.
And you're getting like 30 kills, trying to do everything, basically being like, I don't know, man. have you tried doing this? And they're like, what, these little guys, I have to kill these? And you're like, ooh, it's been 5 games. Like, I don't know what's happening here. So yeah, it's kind of weird. I feel like it's weird. What's your gripe? Where are you at? What's going on?
Let me start things off by saying the explanation for that is that North Americans are dog shit at video games. Okay, sorry. I'm just going to say it. Every single esport, name an esport where NA are the leaders of that esport, they're just bad.
You got Halo. There you go. That's the only one.
Right. Halo and Gears of War.
There you go. That's 2. We figured out 2.
See ya, 1999, guys. Very hype, very hype. I'm sorry. North Americans are bad at video games for a systematic reason. Because if we don't have a job and we have a heart attack, we will die. This is
fair enough. Yeah.
Our life is over. Like, there's not anyone's going to take care of us. If we don't have 2 or 3 jobs, we're fucked, okay? Not our dad falls down the stairs. You got to put him down like a horse in America. So there's nothing. It's very hard to dedicate time to be good. Whereas in countries where their governments actually take care of them, you can have free time and enjoy yourself. So enjoy that. But yeah, there's a reason why some of the top teams in esports, in my opinion, are guys from like Sweden, Norway, Korea, in places where, Canada, these guys actually have inbuilt social systems. In North America, gotta work. And that's the North America deadlock matchmaking right now. You're playing at noon on a Wednesday. There's about 7 people in there. And that's, one of them is, he's an initiate, and the other guy's a turtle, and you guys are on the same team. Best of luck to you. We'll find out. You'll find out 15 minutes in when your initiate is 0 and 20 and your Infernus is screaming on the mic. So, it's just rough. And these are the problems, of course, that come from a smaller matchmaking pool. Yeah. As you know, a lot of people have dipped and they will probably return, but it's the same people over and over again with wildly different ranks right now. I, real talk, was playing with some Oracle buddies. We were in a random game. It was just us and a thing. We played against the number 1, 2, and 3 ranked in. They were all streaming.
Okay.
In North America. Like, I am literally playing against the guys playing in the Deadlock Fight Night with 3 Oracles. I'm like, guys, I'm going to be real. We are fucked. There is no hope. Like, if we get a kill on Lash, the number 1 player in North America right now, hype, guy. That's game victory for us.
That's the screenshot. That's all you need.
Yeah,
like, I'm happy.
That's it. So it's rough right now, I think, and obviously a lot of people are complaining about just how wacky it is, but I think it's just rough because ranks are displayed, too. I mean, obviously, like, if you can see this information, that's going to tilt you.
Yeah.
And if you can't see this information at the same time, that's also going to tilt you. Like, if I knew my teammate was literally 14 ranks under me, I would not be playing support Kelvin first item rescue beam. No offense to you, but I think I could probably do more if I went a different way. So I think they do have to fix that in a way where information must be spread somehow in a non-toxic manner to just give players agency. If I just had agency and I was like, hey, I know I'm the best person in this lobby, I'm going to build my Abrams very differently than if I did not know that if I was the worst person in the lobby, I would build my Abrams very differently, And that's what makes Deadlock so beautiful, is that you have that ability, but I don't know. I mean, the matchmaker's rough because there's so many unknowns, and I think unknowns are what makes gamers toxic and angry. If you know what your challenge is and you can build towards that and you can fix it, I think people find that as a challenge who are gamers, and they look forward to that challenge and seeing if they can do it. But when you're in a situation where unknown, if you don't know a lot about your teammates or your enemies and what the issue is, and then you find out the issue halfway through the game, it's very frustrating. I mean, I have yelled at people in Deadlock. I am quite toxic in Deadlock sometimes, mostly for fun. I do it to enjoy myself. And then, I mean, It's very enjoyable, especially when you play with the same 8 people in NA. You just flame the fuck out of some guy. You're just like, bro, what are you doing? And then the next day you're like, oh, hello, John. Pretend like it never happened.
Everything's fine.
I enjoy
all
it.
still
I enjoy
mates. Oh, dude, it's crazy as well because I think a lot of that does actually stem from. I kind of was the one guy, but I remember everyone was going, "We need ranked. We need ranked. Like we absolutely need to have ranked." I was just going, I don't know if we should. Like I really don't know if it's a good idea to add this right now because it felt like the percentage of people that actually really wanted it but knew that they wanted it outside of just going, I want a badge, I want a number, I need summon, you know what I mean? I feel like that kind of ruined it a bit because then obviously player base goes down a little bit. Suddenly you can't distribute the matchmaking properly against Hero Labs, Ranked, and Quick Play. We get rid of Ranked, implement this system. I think that really cooked things in a bad way because when I think one of the points where I did enjoy it was I liked the idea of like, oh, you have a weekly season effectively. And I thought that was cool. But everyone was like, a week for rank ups? What is this? And I was like, no, that's good, dude. I was like, even maybe 2 weeks per season. You do the patches and the rank change each time. And then the heroes that are in Hero Labs graduate. So you never have to play them until they're fully released. And it goes Hero Labs into Quick Play, into rank, 2 week cycle, boom, they've solved it. And then that just went out the window. And I was like, damn, dude, that was the timeline I saw happening. This is the timeline we got for it. And I'm like, I don't know. I feel like that was the big moment that kind of fragmented it real bad.
100%. I completely agree. And again, I think that this game is Ice Frog's answers to a lot of problems. And one of the coolest things that was part of that was that it would calculate your ranked loss and gain based on your teammates as well. Yeah. If you had someone who was just on a 50-game loss streak because they bought their account, that was not going to affect you. It might have been a bad experience there, but you weren't going to be able to see that. Huge problem that we have in Dota. Smurfs all over the place, account traders, account boosters. You'll get into a game, there'll be like 3 people in Immortal Matchmaking that are all in the same squad, and whoever has the most people on the other team, they just give up. So miserable. Because there's nothing, you have no agency. There's nothing you can do about that. In this system, calculating over the course of the week, seeing how players go and saying, okay, this guy has been winning 1,000,000 games and he won your game, you're going to get a little less MMR. Sorry, he's a Smurf. But same thing if it loses. Such a great system. I can see why they changed it, though, because having those at a certain time is really rough. If I want to play competitive, and I did love that as well. No offense. I loved going into a ranked game and be like, everyone's going to try hard. I'm a try hard gamer. I never like losing. And I know it sucks, but I physically feel sick when I am not doing well in a game because of my allies. I want them to have a good time. So if I'm 1-15, I'm like, feel horrible. But at the same time, like, when other dudes are coming in and they're on the mic and they're like, yo, bro, let's go. I've never played Calico before. And then I'm like, okay. And he's like, hold on, my pizza's here, bro. This fucking guy. Like, there's never a off switch for me. If we have all made a social agreement to play this game, sir, please do not be AFK for the first 2 minutes. Anyway, but I'm a big tryhard in everything that I do. So I'm a tryhard gamer. I love that separation of going into unranked and being like, okay, I'm going to learn how Grey Talon plays. Let's go nuts. But then rank time, Daddy's back on his top 3.
Exactly.
Right.
That, because I remember, right? Like, I had very select hours where I'm pretty sure, I think we were working like an RMR. I think it might have been for Shanghai at the time. So we were on like really weird hours. So I would attempt to get back to the hotel just after we'd finished broadcast to like meet the window of like, I can get my 2 games in here.
Yep.
I can get 3 games in on my rehearsal day. I could do this here. And you'd maximize like that small slot, you know, it'd be like, hey, you got to come down to the bar. And I'm like, no, dude, look, I got to get my 2 EU games in today so I can get my rank for next week. Like it's and it made you go, this is it. I'm in. Phone's on silent. Yeah. I'm playing now. And everyone would do the same where they join and they'd be like, all right, guys, like I actually really need to win this one. And you're like, okay, let's show up. It's his last game of the week. He wants it for his medal. Let's get him that ranked. Everyone was in. And like you say, when that went away, I think it was almost like, oh, I kind of gotten so used to the idea of Deadlock telling me when I can play it. because it was like, you're allowed to play on NA times at this time on NA ping. And you're like, thank you. And then it went, you know what? You can play on EU as well. And you're like, oh my God, thank you. And then they're like, you can even play ranked or Hero Labs at these times. And you're like, spoiled for choice. What do I do?
Wonderful.
And then it suddenly just went, play whenever you want. And I was like, I don't know what to do now. Like, which one do I choose? There's too many options. And people didn't know where to go. Everyone got scattered, you know? It felt scary. Yeah. It was too real. It was too real.
It was. Well, if there's one thing that I took away from my time at Valve as an employee and then, as a gamer for them for life, it's that I always had a saying that they're always right in the stupidest ways. And that's, you think I'm crazy, but it's true. Like, the dumbest thing you could ever imagine of, like, why is this set up like this? You could talk to everybody working there and be like, oh, that makes sense. That's so stupid, but that makes sense, I guess. And it's, I think, happening in real time here in Deadlock, where clearly there is a reason for this. And it's a reason that you wouldn't either accept or like, but they're still right. And that's what's so upsetting, is that, maybe that system of, having hardcore ranked and stuff, people actually did not like it. They did not play more. Sometimes they are very wrong, and they correct those mistakes. Dire Tide, for example. But at the same time, they are typically very right in ways that you would not expect. And I think a lot of people do forget that we are playtesting. Like, this game is not out. So I, for one, love negative feedback. I think it's fantastic. I think positive feedback's fucking worthless, no offense. But if someone's like, I like this, okay, neat. I hate this. This is awful. Never do this again. That is how you build. You can only build through mistakes. Getting something right can only get you so far. So I think that the way that they're treating matchmaking right now, all these experimentations, the implementation of ranked in such a strange way, and then going back on and changing it, I think it's all for a reason to make a better system. And we are in the shit right now. I am playing with 4 Arcanists against Infernus players for some reason, for some sort of data, I hope, that makes sure that others do not have to suffer through this in the future. But yeah, I do. There's things that I miss. I do miss that very competitive feeling. I think if you take away ranked, the game is dead straight up. Not just because of the high skill ceiling that we were talking about. Like, you can tell when someone is at your level, and you can tell when someone is way above your level. And that's not going to change if rank is there or not. It's just, and if you did a grab bag of literally random people every game, it would be nonsense. Like, that's how it was in the early days. You remember that in the first few months? You're like, bro, push the walker. And the guy's like, why? Yeah. And you're like, what do you mean, why? Do you know what a split push is? And he's like, I literally had a guy in the first few months. I'm like, can you push that walker? He said, why? People will come to stop me. And I said, brother, I can't even get into why that is such an insane statement that you would say, I'm never going to push because people will come. That's the point.
So that's the game, bro. That's the game. That's what we're going to do. Yeah.
Anyway, so the difference would be so tough. Valve has always had hidden matchmaking in all their games, even in unranked and Dota, CS. There is a hidden matchmaking that's going to put you in the wiggle room. Ranked is like, you are here with this guy. That has to exist, but I don't know. It's in a weird spot right now, and it is tough.
Well, it's weird as well, isn't it? Because I remember, like, obviously, way back, we all sort of deduced that was the way it was working anyway, because it would be like you'd be front page. Remember, with the viewers like built in. The only way you could know is, I remember, like, sometimes we'd play some games. We've been grinding at this point, like, every single day. We'd not stop playing, and obviously one of our friends would log in and be like, "Yo, your front page, your first game on the watch page. You've got like 20 people watching," and and you're like, oh shit, this is it. Like, this is a good lobby. Who are we playing against right now? And you'd be like, checking mid-game, like shift tab. All right, this guy. All right, then. You know what I mean? And that was kind of cool, where you'd sort of figure it out and go, oh, there is like a hidden elo to this. And I must be all right. I must actually be decent. I can't be that bad. And it's really weird that obviously then you go from that to where we are now, where it feels like there is more curated ideas of like who is good and who is not. But it is, like you say, far more all over the place. And I think, again, it's another one where I do the exact same thing, where anytime anyone asks me about it, I do explain, like, anything they do is usually just for data. Like, it's all they want to know that this sucks so they can prove it sucked and then not do it again. They also want to know that people had fun doing this. Like, and you know, they collect that data and they change it time over time. And obviously, sometimes they'll take feedback from certain people or pros or other factors, and you compile it all together into the secret sauce they use for game development. But I think it's one of those where we've just reached the point where they don't need to do it as frequently. They don't need to always show us what they're working on. Do you know what I mean? And I think they even realized that themselves, where we went from, what was it, when they announced, 2 weeks per update, we're going to give it to you all then, you know what you're getting. And it was like, cool, I guess, like, this is fun. But as a dev, I feel like that would be a lot more strenuous on me, where I'm like, I prefer to just release things when we're ready and change things when we're ready, other than the arbitrary guideline. It was quite perplexing to me, because I was always the guy that kind of would sit there with my weird scribblings of like, I have identified how Valve work through their mysterious tweets and updates. I deduce how things are going on based on feeling and my crystals. Like, I know how they work. And then they just started talking to everyone, and they would actively say, what do you think of this? And posting pictures. And you're like, this is really weird. They're actually like, they're all just humans. They're just normal humans having a chat. And it's just like, this is a really odd environment. Like, Valve are just chatting to everyone and taking every bit of feedback as valuable as every other bit of feedback. And I almost think in some ways that's a bad thing. And they should, now as they have, focus more on, we're going to update stuff when we are ready to, and focus a little bit more on our own decision making. I think that is a better trend at this point in development. I think we've all had our fun, we've given our input, but now we should just let them basically go, objectively, we're going to do it this way. You know what I mean?
I mean, I do agree with you, but it's a mix. When I talk to people about this and how game development works and what they should do, a lot of people walk away from me saying like, hey, we're test subjects, we're trying to make something better, and they're like, oh, this guy is like a shill and he's telling us not to complain. Quite the opposite, actually. You complain more. Straight up, like, bitch as loud as you can, because every time that you complain, they work with data, and then they work with how people react to data. And the guys at Valve are just robots. I mean, they understand that data and trends are what you follow, but sometimes you'll release an economy and artifact and be like, this is very different than what the data showed. Interesting. Well, the game is dead. It's like, you have to say what you like and you don't like, and you can't just assume that, oh, they'll do the right thing, because it's hard when you're in the dirt and you're in the grind, and then when you're looking at it from the outside. That was another thing that I learned being a beta tester for years on different projects, is that your experience right now is going to be so different than someone who's picking up the game for the first time, because you're invested in it, you've seen the product, you've seen the history, and you know what you love and what you hope to become, whereas someone that's seeing something for the first time is just blind to all that, and you get one chance on that. So the more bitching we do now, the more complaining, but still have love in our hearts for the product, the better the product's going to be. You cannot just go place and say, it's fine, they'll fix it, I will deal with it. No, you got to say what's wrong. And when you say what's wrong, they will compare that to the data, and if they find a happy medium, that is going to make a much better product. So I'm super happy. I love seeing the front page every single day with 15 threads on our Dota 2 saying, I hate the matchmaker. You're doing God's work out there, boys. Good, keep it up. But you got to have the love in your heart. You can't be a doom poster either and be like, this guy is wrong. That doesn't do anything. But again,
I think that's the thing as well. Like, that was always the bit at most where I realized, like, the split with CS2 especially was how, like, people were mad angry every day, but there was never any constructive feedback. There was never like me explaining, I don't like this because of this. It was just, I don't like this, and you fucked it. You know what I mean? And it's like,
exactly.
I was reading it, and it's like, dude, it's really not that bad. Like, it's just a bit different, But I think that's at least the only element I have seen, at least with Deadlock, is obviously there is a bit more room where people kind of understand that nuance of like, well, they've given us a forum. If I post what I think and actually write out what I think, rather than just going, this sucks, lamau, then, you know what I mean? Like, they'll actually take it on board. So I think, you're right in that sense. It's just, there's that element of, I think a lot of people struggle to give like actual constructive feedback, even if it is bad. Like, even if it's bad, you know what I mean? Yeah.
It's hard, man. It's hard to give constructive feedback, because that means that you have to think. You have to get into a place to say, how would I solve this problem? That's tough. I mean, there was a big study back in a few years ago. Restaurants, they all used to have like these reviews where you'd like eat and then review, and they used to give restaurants with positive reviews a lot more money, a lot more attention. It turns out that those ones that had the positive reviews were typically the worst ones, because if you give a negative review on something that you love, that means that you like that place. You know?
I see. Okay.
So if you go to a place and you enjoy your experience usually, but you had a bad experience, you're more likely to leave a review than if you go to a place and have a positive experience. Who the fuck goes to Outback Steakhouse and was like, wow, that was delicious. I'm going to log into Outback.com and say, I had a delicious dinner today. Like, that's psycho behavior. Right? That's just life. But if you had a bad experience, you're like, hey, this was bad. So you would find that people that had mostly super positive reviews and all that stuff, they were pushing more to it because their business was so bad and because they were having such negative reactions. I think the same thing applies to gaming in general. Like, the more negative things that you hear from a community is because that community is giga passionate about your product and they're giga passionate about it surviving. You don't see a lot of dudes out there like right now, I don't know, on some freaking palworld.com be like, I hate Palworld. Like, I mean, it's like, chill. It was fun. It's over now. So Valve does make passionate gamers because they know that they love their product. It doesn't hurt to say, yo, love this game, but that's fantastic. That's what gets people continue to work on the game. But yeah, I mean, it's tough, but I think we're all here watching this podcast right now because we believe and love Deadlock and want to succeed. Just, be a little, hey, give it the hamburger method, compliment. Matchmaking is an atrocious demon, and then a little bottom bun of, I like Geist, though. Very
She's pretty cool. Yeah. I mean, that works. Yeah. This is fun. Oh, dude. Yeah. You know, the weirdest one that I did see recently, actually, is I remember I saw someone that effectively, basically, they came back. They said they hadn't been playing the game for a couple months. They've been drawn back in. They were like, did the Christmas event, wanted to play the Christmas event. And they were like, I played the game for about 70 hours and I got all the skins. And they removed all the skins, so I've uninstalled the game. This is disgusting. Why would they do this to me? And when you look at that, right, it's like, there was one bit of my brain where I was like, I think in some timeline, I understand why you are upset. But on the other side of my brain, I'm just like, but dude, you played 70 hours worth of a free game with some new content. You got some rewards for that period of time.
You had goals.
Isn't that fun? Like, wasn't that cool? Or was it just like, I have to get all these characters or else, and then they were gone? But it was also like, dude, they gave you a little badge. You got a little badge. That's cool, no? People love badges. Like, that blew my mind. So it's one of those where I see some of that stuff, and I'm just like, bro, I don't know. Maybe I think about things differently these days. I'm just lost in the source.
You are the quintessential Valve Deadlock gamer. You're here for the challenge and the fun. A lot of gamers are motivated by different stuff. A lot of them want ranks. They want to see the shiny medal.
They want that number.
How they get it.
I need
my number. Nothing else matters. Other guys want to see their cosmetics. That's all they're motivated by. Extrinsic, 100%. Yeah. I don't want to get better at the game. I just want Cookie Hats 7. I don't care how it happens. Make it happen. So, understandable. Hilarious, though. Weak. But hilarious. I do like that. But yeah, I think that was a fun experiment too. Everything that they're doing in Deadlock is an experiment. Not great for your boys MMR. I will say that.
No, this was the rhetoric I heard from everyone.
That was the end. I was top 300 in Deadlock, and then they did the Christmas out. I played like 20 games of Yamato that I lost in a row. It's bad. Daddy is still recovering, and I don't think I'll ever get back to Phantom 5 or Ascended. It's over. Okay, Daddy's an oracle for the rest of his life. But, thanks, Yamato skin. But what can you do? No, but that was fun. Stuff like that's great.
For those few days, you know, you had a beautiful skin, and it's all about the memories, isn't it? I think that's what Deadlocks taught us.
It's true. I genuinely had that Yamato skin for the last 4 hours of that event, and
that's actually kind of rough.
It actually ruined my life in Deadlock, but that's okay. No, but it's fun. I mean, that kind of stuff we are intrinsically motivated to be like, I want to get all the skins. That sounds like, I'm going to learn this hero. I'm going to do it. great. And a lot of gamers are not motivated by that stuff. I think it's pretty funny to want a cookie-headed 7 for the rest of your life in non-Christmas time. That seems wild. But other games do that.
That's fair.
Fortnite, you're buying like, Godzilla 15 years ago or some shit.
Usually, though, those games are out and the characters are finished models, which is the bit that blows my mind. Where it's like you say, I am convinced that we do live in a timeline where people don't even realize like this is a testing build of the game.
100%.
It's not even a beta. Like it is just an abnormality, abstract version of the game we're one day going to get. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And people just don't notice that. It's like they just go, no, it's done. What do you mean? Like it's out. I can play it. My friends have to ask for an invite and none of it's actually finished yet, but it's out.
Yep.
That's the bit that does confuse me. It's like that element where it's like, obviously they're not going to give you skins for the rest of your life. What do you mean? Like this model isn't even done. Come on, like it's not finished yet. If they made a new version just for you afterwards, man who uninstalled, maybe that's fair enough. Like I'll send an email, see what we can do. We'll cook something up.
Cook it up. Yeah, I completely agree with you too on the people just not understanding that the game is, but it's so hard. This game does not belong in 2025.
No.
Like a beta game where you're alpha testing and shit does not look like this. It looks like a scam, coin, like Bitcoin scam game where like some monkey dude that has half of his body modeled. It's not this polished and this good. So it's very confusing. I was watching a YouTuber who like analyzes models and stuff. And really gets into, like, she's some VTuber girl that's like, oh, I like how this reflects this. She's talking about, like, Grey Talon and Yamato for, like, 10 minutes and how they fit in the universe. I'm like, oh, she don't know.
She don't realize.
She don't know. She ain't going to have a giant forehead in a few months. This ain't it. But the model is so good.
Yeah.
Because that's what Valve is so good. It seems like, oh, maybe this is why. It's so interesting. I do have a question for you. Do you think they're going to remodel Bebop? Yeah.
That's the weirdest one, right?
That is the weirdest one.
I agree. You look at it, and objectively, it's like, well, yeah, it's literally his Neon Prime model, but they gave him a couple new dangly bits and removed that massive gun that used to be mounted under his arm. And I don't understand why everyone just goes, yep, this is huge. Scrap Golem in lore, absolutely. The Robot Man, I love it. Like, it's weird to me because it's like, yeah, he is cool. He does look cool. Yeah. He sounds cool. You know what I mean? He's like Robot Pudge, but kind of just a little bit more British in a weird way. And it's like, this guy's sick. Like, it's fun. But I do think, like, you've got to do something with him, surely. But even in the concept art, I think what they've done is change his face shape. They've made it more of a skull, and that's it. That's literally it.
Yeah,
so it blows my mind.
He's got a duck face. I never noticed that. It took me like 200 hours to see a side profile of him because usually I see the hook hand coming to murder me. And then, But he was even in the Geist comic with his normal model, and I'm like, how does that make sense? Because he's got Japanese pants.
His little like rip shorts, all these bits going on. Bro, it's crazy. I think it's the one that I find so funny as well is how, like, obviously Grey Talon, his ultimate used to be the visor would come down and like a tactical missile would be shot out of his bow, and that was his ult. And then they went, right, turn that into an owl, and everyone's just like, dude, the old lady with the bow, so good.
The old lady. Yeah, I feel so bad, man. I love like the design on Talon too, but yeah, I think he's getting a massive overhaul. I would imagine there ain't no way.
Well,
Yamato ain't no way.
I think Grey Talon, keep the braids, keep the look.
Oh yeah.
If anything, braid the beard, and just like I genuinely think if you just gave him like straight up mobster suit, give him like the, you know what I mean, like full on oversized suit. Give him a bit of a chain. He could actually rock it. I think it would work. I love
the movie Coco. I think it's the perfect model, personally. Yeah. I am interested. You know what the weirdest thing? Can I ask you this, Jackie?
Go on.
When you heard and saw Lash for the first time, did you hate it? I thought the voice did not match at all, and I was like, this is awful. And now it's like, it's quintessential.
You know what's odd is, like, Lash was one of those where I remember I played him, and the first thing I noticed is I was like, dude, this guy's really quick. And I went through every hero in the game, and I was checking, like, their speed in units, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, Lash was, like, 50 units faster than anyone else in the game by far. So I just kept picking him for days at that point. I wrote out this list of all the speeds, and I was like, right, well, Lash is the best, then Bebop. Yeah. I was like, I'm going to just run around. This guy's fast. But there was something about it where, like, at first, it almost felt like he was supposed to be like a, you know, a weird sort of martial arts fighter.
Right.
It kind of sounded like Johnny Cage, but not really. And then the more I played him, I was like, actually, it's kind of cool. And now I do catch myself sometimes where it's like, I like the idea of Lash referring to himself only in the third person. You know, he's just like, the Lash will eat a biscuit. You know, I think that's kind of funny. I like the idea of him having such an ego that he is just like, the Lash is pleased. Like,
that was one of the first, like, that's the Valve classic, though. You see something, you're like, this is awful. Why would it be like this? And then 4 months later, you're like, oh. Like the patrons, their first voices. Yeah. Oh, no offense to the new patrons. I get it. They're nice, but I do miss those old patron voices. Holy
they
shit.
were so visceral and so
good.
like, you know, it felt almost like an outerworldly being that was just like, you know, Slacks, you must. And you're like, well, fucking hell.
I was, every game I was just laughing my ass. I love it. Look at this. You will find the kill. I'm like, well, okay, sure. I wish they just had like a voice actor on the whole time. Every game, the voice actor comes on. No, we will find the cure to your third nipple. And you're like, what was that? What?
Yeah, like, is this in my head? What's happening? Yeah, I do feel like the weirdest one with that is I kind of get that they've almost, it feels like now you've gone for like classic video game announcer.
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean? It literally is just like Greenwich has been taken. But there's no weirdness to it. I felt like before I was like, dude, what the fuck is this guy on? He's telling me, you know what I mean? Like the legacy of my family that could be denounced if I don't save the corner shop on Blue. And you're like, what's happening? But it was sick. I don't know
what character it was, but there was one where it was just like this paragraph, and you're like, what is happening?
Yeah. Dude, there was some mad long ones that used to just go on. It was
so funny.
I
loved it. That was the one mistake they made in Deadlock.
Yeah.
Bring it back. There is no, I will say this, your data is wrong. Bring back the old patrons.
I don't even know where, like, obviously, I think it must have just been that they were old, not finished voice lines, and they went, let's tighten these up and make it more clear what we're saying. Yeah. But I think from the lore side, like, bro, 100%, if they just rolled it back, give it that original style, even just those lines for me was so good. That felt iconic because I felt like it all came together where when you boot up Deadlock, you load into the map for the first time and you're playing and you get like the bells and the whistling, you're on the zip line, the ambient sound of Source that's always fucking weird anyway and makes you feel like uneasy, and it's also doubly uneasy because then you got that guy in the back of your neck, you know, just being like, Geist, what have you done? And you're like, I don't know what she's done.
You will find. Yeah. Well, the true answer is probably just like Frank from accounting. That was probably it. They probably just had some rando from like the fucking Underlords team come in and be like, can you rate these lines? And then he did it. And then they're like, we have to hire a voice actor, don't we? No, bring back Frank, bro.
Just
Frank
get him
had
in.
it.
Frank nailed
Get him back in.
Like,
all right, please. I miss him.
He was peak. It was absolutely incredible. Yeah,
Valve,
I agree.
If you're listening right now, you open the store, announcer pack, first original Deadlock, I will be your first purchase. You will make a lot of money for the old schoolers. Okay, give me that shit. Give me that
beta voice pack.
Beta voice pack would pop.
Mate, it's mad as well. Like how I think there is kind of a divide where you see some of the people that did experience it and kind of like we are, they're just like, no, that was actually really fitting. And then you get the other people that have just accepted because they didn't hear the old ones. That it's just, it sounds like a normal announcer. But I have never seen anyone that played like from months back that goes, yeah, no, it sounds good. It doesn't sound as good. It definitely doesn't sound
like
as
the
good.
new, there's a lot more lines now, which I think are nice. We do look in rose-colored glasses. There were like 3 lines, and then it just said, what was that line where you tried to shoot the patron and you didn't take the shrine? Until the shrines are destroyed. Yeah. You heard that like 50 fucking times per match. Like, I got it. All right.
They were good though. Like they hit because I think you know what it was. It was the sheer urgency of how like pissed off they were if you didn't do the thing where it was just like Greenwich has been destroyed, you fool, and you're like, oh fuck, bud, what have I done?
Sorry, Dad.
Like, they fucking killed. Well, actually, back then, Orchard. Like, they've killed Orchard. It's gone.
Oh, Orchard, yes.
R.I.P. The real ones know about Orchard. Like,
yeah, my boy.
Dude, man, it's mad.
Yeah. Oh, we're definitely doing the old nostalgic man talk now.
For a game that's not even released, of course. Like, Sat there like, back in my day of
9
7
months
months
ago.
ago.
Yeah, for sure.
Dude, it's
But-
insane.
I think there's a lot of room for, a lot of fun stuff with Deadlock. I mean, I, for one, am excited for cosmetic stuff. I mean, I'm a Giga nerd. I can't wait for the alternate skins. I can't wait for the alternate guns. I think that's my crazy theory, brother.
Okay, here we go.
I think that they are going to do the TF2 style, where it's like you could have the Geist revolver or the Geist SMG. That's so fun to do, like, the different styles with the same core kit. Woo!
Bro, okay, so I was saying this. Remember when they added in the update where you could see what the name of your gun was? Tiny bit of lore, right? I was like, oh, they're going to add inventories for each character. And I was literally saying, you add 2 guns as options for every character. The hero pool has been doubled. And everyone I said it to was like, why though? What do you mean? How is it different if they have a shotgun? And I'm like, what do you mean? How is it different? It completely changes the game. Like, come on. Have you ever played Deadlock? Obviously it's different if Geist has a rocket launcher. Come on now. But I agree. I think that's actually a real thing. I would be surprised if they don't do that.
I think it's going to be like 70 years from now, but yes, I think it will be very much like the Dota talent tree, where it's like you got your 2 options. You got your mid-range Geist and your close-range Geist kind of deal. It's so fun. But that's a testament to what an incredible design that Deadlock is. Again, I feel like literally any character can do anything in this game. Some characters are better than others. Obviously, Abrams is naturally going to be a better tank than anyone else, but you can still do melee Vindicta. All right, it's possible. It's good too. I've tried it.
Especially, I remember some of the builds back in the day. Lamarite cooked some of these up. You just see Vindicta just you're like, what is happening? Just flying around, punching everyone in the face.
It was horrifying.
You know, it's mad as well. To put it into perspective, that I remember a key point where basically, I think we had done one of the early events where we like casted like I think it was Buff Enjoyers winning it, like MKLS, Piggy, and all of them. We spoke to him afterwards, and we were like, dude, like, talk to us about like viability in terms of heroes. Like, who right now just isn't viable in your mind as someone that plays a lot of support? And he was like, McGinnis is just dead. There's no reason anyone would ever play her. She's never going to get played. It's never going to be good. She just exists for people that enjoy turret heroes like they do in every game. And then next week, it was like literally Valve just went, well, fuck you then. And they just made her sick. And then every patch after that, it's like, dude, if you know how to play her right and you piece it together, you can do whatever the fuck you want with McGinnis. Like, she's up there. And I think that's the thing, right? Is it literally is one of those we have to explain to people every time. Like, no, bro, all of these characters can do everything. There is no defined roles outside of things that you limit yourself to. If you're good at it, especially, and have a high skill ceiling, you can get away with it. Like, if your movement is slick, just run circles around people because they will give up. They eventually just go, I cannot hit this man. Like, I'm leaving this fight.
Absolutely, 100%. And I do miss those old times, too, if we want to do boomer talk. Man, God. I mean, at the earliest stages, you could get some very Techies-like gameplay. I don't know if you know about Dota, but Techies is just a hero purely designed to piss off literally everyone else in the game. And old McGinnis, Turret McGinnis, Gray Talon ult spam. I had Yoshi himself call me an idiot for that one. Bless. In the official Discord. I was one of the early adopters, early guy of saying, buy nothing but spirit items on Talon and spam your bird. I used to just sit in the fountain every 10 seconds, and he said, this is dumb, and then they killed it the next match. It was, thanks a lot. So don't ever share your love with devs, I'll say that.
It was mad that I do remember, like, basically, we played a game when Grey Talon out of nowhere just started becoming crazy sick. And we were like, what the hell is happening? We're looking at this guy's items. And I'm like, dude, this guy used to be a CS player. I was like, he hasn't played for years, but he's not that good. I was like, he's no way he's that good. I was like, I've beaten him at LAN. He's not that good. And I'm looking at his items. It's just spirit items. And then I didn't see him for half the game. I'm like, where the fuck is he? And he's just sat there owling. And every time, obviously, you get a kill, back then, it used to attribute the soul count to him, even if the owl was in the air. Because it was like, well, he's assisting.
He did see him.
Yeah. And I was like, this guy's got an unbelievable amount of souls. Like, what is he even doing? Then he'd come back late game and just rinse everyone. You were like, what has happened? I remember we were watching the demo afterwards and we were like, does this work like that? Does this just give you souls for being an owl? Like, what is happening?
I know, it's so broken, but those were the so fun times, you know? When Viper came out recently, so unbelievable.
Yeah.
I was playing Viper. It was so broken. It was just free games. It was so funny. It was great. 2 days.
Everyone's dead. Yeah.
And Calco kind of still in that moment right now, but
He's getting away with it.
But, yeah.
I think it's also, I remember like one of the weirdest ones of looking back is how there was that week of basically like everyone was just slowing Hex everyone. And it would be like, you'd start a game, I'm in lane versus Vindicta, I rush slowing Hex, you now do nothing for the whole game. And then it basically went with cycles of like people would discover things at the same time. So obviously you'd all kind of like post about it in the Discord or chat about it with a group of mates that tell another group of mates.
Yeah.
And I remember it was so weird when obviously Veil Walker was like the most broken, aggressive gun item in the game.
Right.
And then one day you logged on and it just went, what do you mean? They've made it completely different.
It does nothing now.
Where's it gone? Like, why is it gone?
So many examples, heroic aura, every single, or was the shield? I forget. Yeah, the activatable, and it puts we don't even remember it, but it used to be in every game. It's like the barrier, right?
Yeah.
I'm looking so stupid right now, but anyway, it's like
I know what you mean. You mean.
Every single person had the barrier.
Unholy trinity, I remember is what we called it. When you would play McGuinness players, where they would spam put down turrets with heroic aura. You then also have soul rebirth. You'd have return fire and metal skin.
Soul rebirth. Oh my god!
And it would just ruin you because you could not kill them and all the bullets would come back. So like Haze Main's dead instantly, towers destroyed, McGuinness has split pushed the whole map, and when you did kill her she'd come back to life and everyone was like, what the hell is this item? She's got a res? And you're like, yeah bro, it's in the game, it shows it on the HUD.
I miss those days. God dang, you were the best person in the lobby and they killed you and you just came back
straight back. Yeah.
That was so good.
And they'd always leave, they'd always walk off and then go, oh shit, they've got soul rebirth, and you're like, yeah, I had it the whole time.
Yeah, so good. But I mean, things change. But that's what's so fun is like everyone is running this specific item, like Frenzy, for months, and then it's just okay. That item's dog now. Oh, okay, sounds good. And then you have to relearn it. So it's fun, but it makes you crazy.
I think that's the thing as well. That was the coolest and weirdest bit about it, is because obviously, like you say, there was no easy way to kind of like go online and watch a guide or see like a Twitter post that says buy these items, buy this. You just had to figure it out. So people were just trying out loads of weird stuff and seeing what sticked. That was like super fun to just do the weirdest stuff each game and basically be like, oh, this works. Kelvin is actually broken as hell. Like, I'm going to put this little path down. You grab the urn. Oh, I remember the one that blew my mind was, it was like midway through a tournament. We were covering like a very early tournament, right? And I see two people, not heavy melee, it was back then when it spawns in. So the power-up spawns in, they're both standing on top of it. Both of them get the power-up. It goes to both of them. And in my head, it was like a flashback to like early CSGO, when I remembered basically if you stood close enough to each other in spawn and bought armor, it would give you both armor. Because it physically drops it in, but it's invisible. And I was like,
Jesus.
I know what they have done here.
We're back.
Yeah, and I'm explaining that on the cast, and like my co-caster was just like, "Dude, what are you on about?
What are you talking about?"
Yeah, and I'm just like, no, like trust me, it's a bug, but they've used it as a feature. That's sick. Like, it was so weird. It was such a weird time, and then that was gone next patch.
I mean, you used to not have to punch the rejuvenator. Yeah, shit's crazy. I mean, it's such an integral part of the game now. All this stuff, so it is very fun. But that's the joy of Deadlock, I think, is that you always think that something is so impossibly broken, and then you just discover the item, and you're like, like a Bebop, the destroyer of all new players. It's just hopeless. And then as soon as one time someone tells them about reactive armor, they're just like, huh? And it's just awful. And I love that about this game. There's always an answer, it feels like. There's always an agency. You just did it wrong, and a lot of people can't handle that, but it also is what makes it so beautiful.
People hate hearing that as well, and I realized I became that guy where, like, new friends would get in, and you'd be telling them, like, hey, yo, here's some tips, do this, and each and every time, weirdly, it was Bebop, always Bebop. They were like,
it's always Bebop,
this bomb, this hook, I can't do anything, it's just auto-locking onto me, and you're like, no, it's not locking onto you. Also, he's not that OP. What items are you buying? And they're like, how is that going to solve it? And you were just like, no, trust me, it will.
Trust
me.
Right.
Yeah. I think, but no one wants to hear that when you go, no, you're playing the game wrong. It's like, homie, how am I playing the game wrong? It's like, no, you really are. Like, weirdly, that's how the game's played.
and it's still to this day. As of last night, my last game, 50-minute game with a haze that does not have unstoppable. Why am I dying? What do you mean, why are you dying? Get unstoppable, and then he says, nah. That's a classic. That's a classic Dota BKB issue. So what can you do? Carries.
Oh, dude, it's so mad. It's so
Anyway.
mad. Oh, I do want to ask that. It's very
Sure.
on brand as well because you've got the hat on for TI. You pulled it off. You went for the earliest debut of an Infernus cosplay
Oh yeah.
live on air. Did you have that ready, or did you just find that bad boy in time? You pieced this together, like how
Of course
pre-cooked was this? I need to know.
Quite cooked. Quite cooked. I
Okay.
I had to do a cosplay. I was very, very excited to do a cosplay for Deadlock. So I just tried to sneak it through Valve because I didn't ask for any permission.
Okay.
So I bought, a suit, which was red and black, which are the Dota colors, and then under it, the vest and all that stuff. And then I just went it on and did it and got off before they could stop me. So, yeah. I am very excited, though. I do
Okay.
live. Hold on one second.
Here we go. Here we go. He's been cooking again. He's running it back. The full Vindictor cosplay.
Just arrived in the mail the other day. This nice blue trench coat here.
Are you going for the Abrams?
Maybe. We'll see. We'll see. Next big, next international. I gotta keep lifting. But we'll see. I gotta get a lot of roids, but we'll see.
Honestly, the full commit of you coming out up like full head to toe, blue paint, the suit up with the book.
Yeah, I don't have any hair. That's going to be an issue, but
you could pull it off. You graft the horns on.
I gotta lift, but we'll get there. I'm very excited. I love Deadlock. I love telling people about Deadlock. I love begging my friends to play Deadlock. I love flaming people in Deadlock and getting death threats about Deadlock. I'm all about it. So a big fan. I'll preach. I will preach.
Oh, dude. It's so funny as well, because I think there is like a weird mix of people now where like I've met way more people from different scenes where it's like, obviously you spend so long just being involved in only Counter-Strike. You only really spend time with Counter-Strike people. And now obviously like through this and through doing it and like meeting other people from different games, it was a weird link of just people coming over and being like, hey, Deadlock? And you realize like there's so many people that share a very similar kind of way of thinking about this game and super got addicted to it in the same way. So it's very cool. I'm glad we got to have this conversation. It's interesting how many of these random abstract thoughts about the game do overlap between us, Slacks. I'm quite impressed.
Yes. As you said, two sides of a coin. You come from all the things you love about the game. I can't do well. You could probably do the things that I do in the game pretty well, but to say two sides of the coin, but still coming to the same conclusion. So,
you know what we could do? Yeah. That's a content piece. You
What's
hold
that?
the keyboard, and I'll hold the mouse.
We would actually be good.
Two brains. Yeah.
Daddy's coming back to Eternus, baby. Okay? No
Ogre
more work
Magi,
for me.
but for Deadlock. We'll pitch that to Valve. We'll both do one voice for the character. Two heads.
Oh, yeah. No one will ever buy that. That's just,
no.
That sounds great. Super down.
Oh, mate. That, and we'll recreate the classic announcer pack, We'll bring it back. Just our awful impressions of it.
You got to have...
From lines we remember, off of memory alone.
Yeah, we could definitely have the old man mod pack, where it has the old announcers. Orchard is back.
Yeah.
You can't punch anything anymore. There's only 8 people are allowed to play from 4 to 6 p.m. It's wild. They'll love it.
Total. Yeah, they're sat there every day. It's coming up. It's coming up. Because two of you ain't getting in. So you've got to be ready. You've got to be quick.
Yeah, that's it. You got to be the first in.
Or it's the sick twist of fate. If you do get in, but on the day that 3 of them are busy and there's just no games. Always playing one man down. It would be absolutely brutal, but what a nightmare. What a nightmare.
For sure.
All right. Well, look, I think that was a pretty good ramble. I think we gave a lot of context. We went off,
For sure.
We gave a blast to the past. Talking of which as well, by the way, obviously I saw they've announced the next lineup for the next Blast Dota event. You're back at it, back in the building. Yeah.
Yeah, I will be playing Deadlock every night.
I was going to say, you're going to be on Deadlock the whole time.
I'm a locker, baby. That's what I do. I still love watching Dota, though. Still love it. Playing Dota. It's just misery. It's just misery, but I do still play. But yeah, I am desperately awaiting Deadlock events and esports events.
Oh, yeah.
So one day, when it happens, I will be there for free. I will do whatever I can to do Deadlock stuff. So I have to say though, Jackie, thank you for carrying the community. Keep up Dead Air and all your informational videos, your shorts, everything. You're killing it, keeping us alive in these moments of lulls until we are back to greatness and beyond. So big fan of the content. Keep it up. It is a pleasure to see you.
I appreciate it, bud. We'll ride to the Deadlock Valhalla together. We'll be there, you know, at Deadlock's TI Major 28 in 2031. We'll both be there. We'll take our piece of the pie in our Neon Prime cosplays.
I hope
and it'll
so.
be all worth it. It'll be all worth it, bud. Right then, anything else you want to slip in? Any final thoughts, mate, before we close this one down for the day? I think that was a good podcast.
That was a
podcast.
Great good podcast. I'll be back on anytime. Final notes, guys. Keep on playing. Keep on having a good time. Enjoy yourselves. Keep creating new builds and, keep it up. And if you're a game with me, sorry for being toxic. We're different people in games. I really would have appreciated it if you left the jungle and pushed the walker, but we all have our different ways of playing. Some of them are good. Some of them are what you guys are doing out there. So keep it up. Keep doing what you're doing out there, fam, and thank you so much.
There is a recommended number of wolves inside of each and every one of us Slacks, and it's only supposed to be one. But I know you've got about 15, so I'm proud of you for keeping them in check, mate. A pleasure, genuinely. It's been super fun. We'll leave it there. Thanks for everyone that's tuned in. Another episode of the Dead Air podcast. It probably won't be 4 months before the next one this time. They'll be back regularly. So we'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye.